Okay, just a simple quick run through of the claw system in 3ds Max and how you can cache this out and then even apply it to meshes of different topologies. First, we're going to take the piece of mesh here, simple plane object with a fairly high number of polygons. Don't go too crazy, at least with 3ds Max. The claw system is robust but a little slow, so don't go too nuts. Keep it in the reasonable number here. So what we're going to do is add the cloths modifier to the object, go under properties, and then under properties, take the plane, good idea to name that, click on cloth, and set the settings to whatever you want to. In this case we're going to stick with the preset of cotton. And we're going to go add objects and add the sphere as a collision object. So click on collision for the sphere and click OK. Now if we hit simulate, with a simple mesh like this and a fairly round featureless object like that, we should get pretty good results. With higher speeds and pointier objects, the problem gets pretty badly exacerbated. So let's go through a few of the settings. First of all, centimeters per unit. The higher number you put here, let's try 6 real quick, and then we'll delete the simulation and simulate again. You get a much larger sense, like this is a larger piece of cloth. And with a lower number, let's try 0.5 and erase simulation and simulate again. You get a much smaller piece of cloth, like a tablecloth or like a napkin. So all the features here, you get kind of a abstraction or a generalization of the features here. Things just happen in smaller spaces. Things fold a lot more simply. Larger objects fold a lot more. There's a lot more detail to the forms. So subsamples is another important one. This is if your object is flying through the sphere. Let's just turn this into a point object real quick. I'm going to actually I'm just going to delete this object real quick. Get out of the make a new try a cone shape. Pop that up there and really give it something to poke into, and you'll see the problems here are going to be pretty extreme. Get into groups here in a second. So go into properties and then add the plane. You know, I think we may have to just delete this cloth system and start all over. It's okay. Properties. So we're going to make this cloth object. Cotton, there we go. And go into properties again, just add the cone and make the collision object, and just without changing the subsamples, we'll go ahead and run this simulation one more time. We may get lucky, but chances are we won't. Yeah, there we go. It pokes right through. That one single vertex is just not enough information there to kind of calculate. And with a coarser mesh, that problem is going to be even more exaggerated. So what you can do, couple changes you can make here. Let's turn on. First off, let's go to subsample and bring that up to like 5. And this is going to slow things down quite a lot. Go ahead and simulate. But it will calculate between the frames. And again, this is just not getting there. But in most cases, this subsample, especially for fast-moving objects, subsample can really help tremendously. If we move this object over just a little bit, maybe we can actually hit one of those edges and get lucky. But chances are it'll probably do the same thing. Poke right through one more time. That's even worse. So, alright, so that's not solving the problem, but in many cases that can actually fix things. So let's bring this back down. Something a little bit slow, a little bit faster. And we'll use, instead of this object, we'll just Control V and make a copy of it. And this will actually be the actual geometry. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. That's going to be the one that's physically going to be there. And this guy, since we already have him in the scene anyway, is actually going to be the collision geometry. So the collision geometry, what you can do is go to the cone, and we're going to just go ahead and collapse it. Enable poly. Take the top point there, and let's see if we can just camfer that a little bit. Now we'll take the point and just pull that down. Already that gives us a lot more geometry to work with. I'm going to scale it up a little more. You know what, that actually is would be problematic. It's actually cutting into the geometry a little funky. Let me just change that, and let's just do a connect. There we go. Just connected those edges together so that, okay. That'll give it a lot more stuff to kind of hit. Now if we right click on this object, just to make sure it doesn't show in the scene, go to properties and turn on see-through first of all, and turn off renderable. We can display as a box too if we wanted to, but this should work. Yeah, it's fine. And let's just turn off the realistic, turn on shaded view. There we go. Now this is still going to be the collision mesh. Let's go back to the cloth object here real quick. Go to parameters. Add. It's going to be cone 1. And collision. So there's cone 1. That's a collision object. And just so that that just hits that object. You're going to see a little bit of a bending around there, but it should be hidden by the general flexible nature of the cloth. This shot, oops. Got to erase simulation first, then simulate. Okay, so it's still poking through. Come on. Okay. Subsample 2. Let's connect those one more time. Add a little bit fewer, few extra levels of geometry. Let's add a few segments to that. And okay, that's the basic idea. Just so you have a mesh that prevents that from going all the way through. Okay, you can see it's helping quite a lot. There's a lot more pause before it goes right through it. So, typical of the nature of cloth simulations. It's still a bit tricky. I want to keep enough of that point there, so I'm having to force this a lot. Oops, once more time. There's simulation. Set the subsamples up to 5 now, and I think that should hold it. Yeah, that's good. So that holds it down pretty well. So it's important to have these collision meshes also as optimized as you can. They shouldn't be as detailed as your final rendering mesh, especially in a game situation. with UDK, you've got to put a lot of those kinds of meshes in. Excuse me, collision meshes as a natural course. Anything you're going to be running into in a UDK or game situation, collision meshes are key. All right, so now I've got cached. Good.